Before Islam, slavery wasn't an exception. It was the norm. Across the ancient world, entire civilizations were built on it. In ancient Egypt, slaves filled palaces and temples. In India, rigid caste systems pushed entire groups into lives of servitude. In China, Assyria, Babylon, and Phoenicia, the same pattern repeated. And Arabia, before Islam, was no different. Slavery wasn't questioned, it was accepted. But what's more striking is how easily someone could lose their freedom. Lose a war. You're captured, fall into debt, you're owned. Commit a crime, you're enslaved. Get kidnapped, sold like an object. Be poor enough, even your own family might sell you to survive. And in some places, if land was sold, the people on it were sold with it. Entering slavery was easy. Getting out was nearly impossible. There were only two ways to be free. Either your owner frees you, or you somehow manage to buy your freedom. For most people, neither ever happened. Then came Islam, and instead of destroying the system overnight, which would have shattered entire societies, it did something far more strategic. It flipped the system. First, it closed the doors that led into slavery. No more slavery through debt. No more slavery through kidnapping. No more slavery through poverty. No more slavery as punishment. All of it removed. Only one path remained: war captives, and even that was regulated. Then, Islam did something revolutionary. It didn't just allow freedom, it multiplied it. Freeing a slave became an act of worship. It became a way to atone for serious mistakes, accidental killing, breaking an oath, violating the sanctity of Ramadan, certain marital violations. All of these could be expiated by freeing a human being. Charity itself, zakat, was allowed to be used to buy and free slaves. If a slave was mistreated, their freedom became mandatory. And for the first time in history, a slave could initiate their own freedom. Through a contract, mukataba, they could work, pay, and earn their independence. Even after death, owners were encouraged to free slaves through their will. The result? Freedom was no longer rare. It became embedded in the system. But Islam didn't stop there. It changed how slaves were treated, immediately. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "They are your brothers. Not property, not tools. Brothers. Feed them what you eat. Dress them like you dress. Do not burden them beyond their capacity. And if the work is heavy, help them." Even the language changed. Don't say slave. Say young man, young woman. A complete shift, not just in law, but in mindset. Now think about it logically. If entering slavery becomes rare and leaving it becomes easy, what happens over time? It disappears, and that's exactly what happened. Large numbers of slaves were freed, not just out of obligation, but out of faith. People began freeing slaves simply to get closer to God. Some even did it after personal mistakes, even when they weren't required to. Umar ibn al-Khattab freed slaves after feeling he spoke too harshly. Aisha freed many slaves after making a vow. This wasn't forced, it was internalized. Now compare this to human attempts to end slavery. In the United States, abolition came suddenly, and it triggered a civil war. From 1861 to 1865, over 750,000 people died. The economy collapsed in the South. Chaos spread. Why? Because the system was ripped out overnight, without transition. Islam took a different path. Not instant destruction, but controlled transformation. It removed the causes, expanded the exits, elevated human dignity. And the result? A system where slavery could not survive long term. Islam didn't just end slavery. It engineered a world where slavery fades away on its own.